Right, hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new lesson. Today we are talking about the release of the golf club, something that I would imagine you've watched a video on before, but what is it and why do we need it? And I think if we actually asked 50 different golf professionals, we'd probably get a different answer every time, because sometimes it is a little bit misconstrued, but we all have our own ideas on what the release wants to do. But I want to teach you what I think a release is and how it's going to help you hit better golf shots, more importantly. So let's get stuck into this lesson and find out now. So for me, the release is all about the club face. What is it doing through impact? And most importantly, I think the release is the action of squaring the golf club up to our intended target. I also think it's the release of the power created during the backswing and the downswing into the golf ball, because if we think about those two things, they're pretty important. So number one, squaring up the club face, super important. If I don't get this pointing to where I'm intended to, I'm not going to get my ball going in that direction unless by some miracle I've managed to get a bit of a missed strike or it bounces. But ultimately, if we are playing the game greatly, we've got great control of the club face and where it is pointing. Secondly, I need power. If I've got no power, the ball's going to go nowhere. And obviously in today's modern game, everything is about power, it seems. How far can you hit it? How far can you hit it? But even if you are, a mid-handicapper, an average golfer, a high handicapper, if you release it a little bit better and your driver goes from even 160 to 170, that's great. You've got 10 yards extra. You don't have to be hitting it 300 yards, but you've got to get the most out of your release. So let's take a look at a few different types of releases and how best to actually function. Where's this release going to happen in the golf swing? And for me, what I think should happen when we've got a good release is that as we're coming down, the releasing action would actually take part from about belt height on the trail side and through into belt height on the lead side as I go through. The action of letting the club face actually turn over a little bit during this segment. I don't want it to happen too early here. I don't want to release it early and throw the club too much. I don't want to release it too late, because then I've not used all my power. I've not got the face squared up at times. So it should be happening around this sort of section from belt height to belt height. Let's talk about squaring the face up, point number one. So I think it's imperative that we understand what type of release we need. Do we need a little bit more of a holding release? Do we need a little bit more of a rolling release? Or are we pretty neutral? And that all comes down to how we're actually holding this golf club. If I'm someone who's a really strong gripper like so, if I go for more of a rolling release here, I'm going to see that I hit the ball miles left because my face is already closed because of my strong grip. So for someone who is a strong gripper, yes, you want to release it, but you would want to feel that as you come down here, you're holding it off a little bit more. So you're holding the face a little bit squarer through the release zone. So for that sort of player, if you are a strong gripper of the golf club, you don't want to be trying to cross your arms over. Obviously, in other videos, we will see that this is a good point to get to, but that's only if your grip allows it. If you've got a shut club face, don't be doing that. What we want to see is that you would, yes, unload the wrists into the golf ball, but then feel that you very much hold the face square as we go through. So if you have got that strong grip, what I would like you to look for, like I say, is not that rolling over point, but yes, get it snapped into impact here, but then on the way through, maybe have a little bit more where you would see your forearms parting over, because then I'm starting to hold that face a little bit squarer. So it would look something a little bit like so. I've got my strong grip and I'm going to feel a release and then hold as I go through here. So strong grip, release, but hold the face a little bit squarer. And there you see a pretty straight ball flight as I've hit that one. It's not a big snap hook, but if I were to get the big rolling release, as I would call it, we would then see that as I'd go through it, this ball would go really left, because with that strong grip and a rolling release, I'm making the face turn over more and more. So strong grip, rolling release, produces a big hook. So if you're more of a strong gripper, try and have that face a little quieter through impact. But if you're someone who's got a little bit of a weak grip, we're on the other end of the spectrum. If your hands are looking a bit more like this as you grip it, then we want to see that you would feel that you roll it, because if your grip's a little weak like so, we need to make sure that it actually gets turned over and released a little bit more, so we would feel a bit of this starting to happen as we're going through, letting the forearm pass, because otherwise the face is going to be wide open and looking to the right hand side. So if you are a weak gripper, we've got to feel this little bit more rotation of the forearms. Let's give that one a go. Excellent. Nice and straight, and I just allowed that face to square up as I went through there. So two types of grip can ultimately result in two types of different release. So clarify which one you are and then use the appropriate one. If you're a strong gripper, feel you hold it a little bit more through the release zone. If you're a weak gripper, feel that you would maybe release it a little bit more. Maybe even work on your golf grip a little bit more. Let's take a look at how we're going to use the power in the release as well to generate a few more yards. So getting a little bit more power, and this is a great drill that I use with my students a lot, and I always sort of fall it back to them that if you had a towel and you are whipping someone with a towel, it's all about that release of the wrists, isn't it? It's not just your arms that you throw at the golf ball, and if you were to just use your arm when you actually had the towel, you wouldn't hear that snap, we wouldn't get that crack a little bit more. A bit like when you use a whip as well, we want to try and crack the whip, we don't want to just wave our arms at it aimlessly. And if you were to take an alignment cane and simply swing it with your arms, I would imagine there the microphone isn't really picking much up because there's not much whoosh going on, because I'm holding on to it a little bit more. But if I start to feel that I crack my wrists a little bit more, crack the whip, all of a sudden that noise is really there. I get this whipping motion, and all of a sudden I'm starting to generate more speed. So I've got my relevant release due to my grip, and then I'm going to actually learn to actually unhinge the wrists down at the right point to here, that I can get that nice little bit of speed and that little bit of whooshing to generate that little bit more distance. So let's give that a little go. Feeling I just let the wrists unload at the right time, hit the ball at the right time with this little bit of a snap. And even there, as the ball went out, we could hear that fizzing, because all of a sudden I've generated more club head speed. So two really valid points there. Number one, what is the release you need to have relative to your club face? And then number two, are you actually cracking that whip? Are you actually using the release in the right manner? If you can clarify those 2 points for yourself and start to work on those things, you should see straighter golf shots, and we should see more distance from them as well. Guys, I hope this lesson has helped you, and I hope it's cleared a few things up. Do remember to hit that subscribe button down for me. I want you to get better at golf, I really do, and you're going to do it by joining me for your free lessons every week here on the channel. Thanks for watching, see you in your next lesson.